Hey everyone, Richard Robbins here. Hope you're well. Welcome to 2021. We made it. Anyway, I have a market update for the greater Vancouver area. And what I want to do is I want to talk about a few things. I take you through this update. Of course, as you can see on the screen, I'm going to compare December of last year to the year before. But also what I want to do is I want to show you what happened last year with each quarter, because it was very interesting, as generally the second quarter tends to be the busiest quarter of the year. Not so in 2020, obviously. And then what I also want to do is I want to show you the number of sales that took place over the last 5 years. So you can see how 2020 compared to the 4 years before that. And then I'm also going to show you the benchmark price that took place as well over the last 5 years. So let's get started. If we look here at December of 2019, you see we did about 2016 sales. But then what happened? We did a lot more last December, which is great. We did almost 3,100, which is a substantial increase of, just over 50%. But the number to look at is the months of inventory, where it says MOI. Now that, months of inventory just determines the market, the buyer's market, seller's market, balanced market. 4 to 6 is balanced. Above 6 is going to be a buyer's, and below 4 is going to be a seller's market. And that's just based on the amount of inventory, by the number of sales that are taking place. So if you look at it, you can see that if we go back to 2019 in December, we had 4.3 months of inventory. And of course, we only had 2.8 months in December of 2020. So that is a very cool indicator of what's happening with prices, which means obviously they should be strengthening again, based on property type, because every property type can have different months of inventory. I'm giving you the months of inventory for the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. What about prices? Well, prices were up last year. You can see December of 2019, they're basically a million. And of course, we're up to about 1,050,000 in 2020, up by 4.6%, which obviously is always good news. Let's look at the 4 quarters. So this is really interesting. If I look at the first quarter of 2019 and 20, you can see that we're up substantially. 4,300 sales in 19, and 20 we did 6,245. So up quite a bit. But the second quarter, generally the busiest quarter of the year, we did 6,500 in 19, and we did just over 5,000 in 20. COVID, roughly March 15th, COVID got very, very serious. Obviously, they started to lock things down. Everybody was panicking. It was completely new to us. There was tons of uncertainty. We didn't know how to handle it. We didn't know if we should be out in a world looking at a home. Should we be listing? Shouldn't we be? We didn't know. So what happened? A lot of people just put everything on hold. But then we got used to that. COVID didn't go away, obviously, but then everybody got used to it. Real estate was deemed an essential service, which was a beautiful thing and should be, by the way. And all of a sudden, the market started to take off because we had pent up demand. People that wanted to buy or wanted to sell and didn't do it in the second quarter. And of course, look what happened in the third quarter. You compare, we had 7,119, went to almost 10,000 sales in 2020, which is a big number. Let's go to the fourth quarter. And by the way, you look at this, these numbers are astounding. We had 7,372 and 19 went to, again, almost 10,000, almost the same as the third quarter took place. So you can see the last 6 months of the year were very, very strong. What about the last 5 years and the total number of sales that took place? Well, if we go to 2016, almost 40,000. Then we dropped to roughly 36,000. Then we dropped to 24,500 roughly. And then, of course, we got just over 25,000. But last year, we did almost 31,000. So the market has recovered very nicely. So think about that. 2020, even with COVID, even with, the second quarter, which was substantially down, we did a lot more sales than we did in 19 or 2018. So very good news. What about prices? Well, look at this. The average price in 16, or I should say the benchmark price was 879,000, went up to 987,000, over $1 million, stayed over $1 million, and of course is still over $1 million and up just a little bit. So prices, if you look at it, have been, since 2018, have been relatively balanced, right? Because your market's been sort of, hot for a while, then it's been slowing down for a while. Different property types have been doing better than other property types. So what is my prediction moving into 2021? Well, let's face it, interest rates are very low. With interest rates being very low, that means more people can afford to be buying property. I also think what you're going to see is you're going to see a trend continue because of COVID. I think you're going to see a lot of people that are going to be, maybe moving out of urban areas because now they can actually work remotely and that could become permanent. So they're going to see an opportunity where they can get more house for their money, maybe by moving further out. We know that in sort of the last half of 2020, what ended up happening was the condo market, started to slow down a little bit, and the detached market was sort of a much stronger market, which for a long time the condo market was crazy. Well, makes sense. People were selling their condos, with certain isolation or that was taking place. It was very difficult for people, right? Because they're going, well, I don't want to live in a 600 square foot box right now. I can't go out as much as I used to go out. And by the way, I can work remotely. So I'm going to get myself a house, maybe move 60, 90 minutes, 2 hours away, or maybe even further than that. So I think that'll continue a little bit. However, I do think in 2021, I think your market will remain fairly strong. Now, saying that, other than a severe lockdown because of COVID, which none of us hope is going to happen, or at least I don't, because if there's a severe lockdown, well, that could cool things off a little bit. But really, economically, I look at it and say, why would the market start to slow down? I think a lot of people have done okay financially. Some have suffered, don't get me wrong. But the people that have suffered financially tend to be a lot of the people that can't get into the housing market anyway. The people that, are making a little bit more money and sort of are moving towards home ownership or in home ownership, a lot of those people did okay in 2020. So it's sort of interesting what's unfolding here. So I think based on property type will determine what your market's going to be like, but I do think it'll remain fairly strong. In terms of total number of sales, I don't know what the number is going to be. Nobody does, but it wouldn't surprise me if we sort of beat 2020 or at least remain very close to what it was you did in 2020. But here's what I do know. Right now, all the fundamentals are there for you to have a great year as a real estate sales professional. And what I'm going to suggest to everybody is make sure that as we move through 2021, we're going to see a lot more people get vaccinated. However, this COVID thing's going to be with us for the first 3 quarters and maybe the first quarter of this year before we get to, herd immunity. So which means we got to remain part of the solution and not part of the problem. Make sure that we're giving our buyers and sellers options. Make sure maybe they're viewing homes virtually if that is their choice, if they're concerned about COVID. We can be doing listing presentations on Zoom. Many of our coaching clients are, and they're very successful, and they're going, why would I go back to doing it the other way? We can do walkthroughs now. If somebody's considering selling, we can do all this virtually. So I'm just saying that be flexible. Give buyers and sellers options because some people are more concerned about COVID than others. Everybody's dealing with this situation, and make sure you're a part of the solution and not the problem. And remember, everybody, no matter what's going on, even in 2021 with COVID, it's a beautiful life. Make it count.